Live from Glasgow is VGC the Video Game Podcast, episode 158, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion, and Andy Robinson. This week, Nintendo news, GTA 6 chat, and VGC Live. But first, how's it going, folks? Andy, how are you?
I'm all right. It's been a good week, actually. Very, very busy. Yeah, it's been a mentally stimulating week. Lots of news, lots of earnings calls, earnings releases this week, which inevitably leads to news, not just from them, but people will. It's not a coincidence that Nintendo will hold a direct on the week that it does it. It's odd that they do it after their results, but usually they like to time stuff around when they're going to go and speak to the money men. So it has been a busy
You
week.
love a good earnings call. You're like Pep Guardiola looking at tactics, like that.
I'm doing something useful. I'm doing something useful, which not all of us can say that we do.
On this podcast or in the industry, don't be rude.
Just on the day-to-day, 9 to 5.
I've been doing some very useful things, but we find out about them next week.
I like your t-shirt.
Thank you.
Do you mean to match your t-shirt with your lighting?
My lights, I did, because I'm a showman first.
I suppose mine kind of matches my lighting, like a really dull matrix green tone.
I had an awkward moment when I went to play Metal Gear Delta, where the Konami people really complimented my shirt and asked me where I got it, and I had to be like, "Oh, I can't quite remember because it's a proper bootleg."
I tell you what, if Nintendo want to make some arrests, go to the California Universal Studios. Oh my god, you've never seen so many bootleg T-shirts in your life.
Yeah, it's basically Temu.
Yeah, it's like Mario and Luigi terribly stretched, like, and on the most thin, like, hoodie you've ever seen. There's a lot of that stuff with Fortnite as well. It'll be like a Galaxy hoodie with random Fortnite characters on it.
Well, there's that one they always used to. I bet if you went to Camden to this day, you would still see it. The one with the picture of Mario smoking a Jeffrey and it says weed on it, like WIID, and you're like, oh, very good.
That's the stuff. I mean, Camden has been fully gentrified, obviously, but it's still full of that muck. It's still full of every fake football top you've ever seen, every fake trainer you've ever seen. But
I've not been for a long time, but I'm guessing there's just full of t-shirts with weed jokes on them still to this day.
It's a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of Italian brain rot, which is a TikTok thing that the kids are into, that is really, really disgusting. But yeah, a lot of that. We also put up some nice stuff this week. Andy could finally reveal where he was on his adventure to deepest, darkest Europe. Bognor Regis, home of Nintendo. What did you play over there, Andy?
It's a bit of it's a bit of a weird event. I think they kind of just put it on just because they've got more chairs in Nintendo of Europe than they do in Nintendo UK. So they had like some of their upcoming stuff. Like I played Mario Tennis, which I'm a little bit down on, to be honest. I mean, me down on Nintendo game recently. Shock horror. It's but I don't know. Like the problem with Nintendo with Mario Tennis, sorry. I haven't had a coffee this morning, so I'm gonna like.
One's on the way though.
This. Yeah, it's on the way. The boss man is bringing a coffee. Like the problem with Mario Tennis recently is that they rely on a crap gimmick, and within like 5 minutes of playing this, it's like this is the crappiest gimmick. Like you've got they put special tennis rackets in, right? But they just break the game. Like, go and watch my footage on YouTube. Like, if you charge up your little bar and you get a shot, right, you shoot it over. I mean, you can whack it back if you're skilled, but the thing is, like, you've got to be really incompetent at this game not to, like, get a rally going. We had a rally that lasted about 5 minutes with games journalists who can't play video games, famously. So, like, if you whack this shot, it will just feel, I'd say, 60% of the court, your half of the court, with, like, slime that slows you down. So you've just lost the game. Like, so that's getting turned off straight away. So
you're playing it Super Smash Brothers style, no items.
Let's whinge about some more. Actually, I'm such a moany Nintendo fan.
You like the Virtual Boy
Mario
stuff,
Wonder,
though?
which is my favorite 2D Mario game since the 90s, hands down. Absolutely love that game. One of my favorite games of the last couple of years from Nintendo. It felt like the thing that I had with it was that it felt like it ended too soon. Like But no, it's a very small complaint, is that we're spoilt with by Nintendo games, well, Mario games in particular, where they just keep going, like after the credits roll. Like you think of like 3D World and Odyssey, they just go and go and go and go. Like, and they do that in a very thoughtful, curated way, where they will put harder content after the credits, right? So that everyone can reach the credits, and it's like, right, here's the real dude's game, right? Whereas, so it felt a little when Wonder. Oh dear,
there's the boss man. There's the coffee.
So when is that the coffee?
You can go and check if you want. We can vamp. Is he here? Is he throwing your coffee
if she
against the wall?
screams her head off a second time, then yeah, I think he is here. Field conversation. Talk about Nintendo. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
We'll do.
My name is Phil Conversation. I'm a conversationalist here on VGC the Video Game Podcast. What you been up to, Scullion?
I'm okay. I've been a cold. I've got a cold brewing, which is always good. You know these colds like perfectly time themselves, so they arrive just as the weekend starts, and it'll be cleared by Monday. So I'll just be like, oh well, that's just fantastic. But other than that, I was in London myself, speaking to the bold Suda 51.
Oi! VGC's own Suda 51. I think he's earned the VGC's own title at this point. He's appeared on content unwillingly since we watched the famous Switch thing. I love that photo of the pair of you. Check out behind the VG scenes on Discord for an excellent photo.
Do you know why that photo was taken? Because I told him that we love that. The bit in the, for those that are, if you go back and watch the Switch launch event when they were revealing the Switch, Suda 51 comes on stage at one point and goes, and does like both his hands out. And I've told him, I told him at the time, I said, just because we're speaking about the Switch, and I said, speaking of the Switch, I loved when you did that. He thought it was quite funny. So when we got our photo taken at the end, we both did that pose, which is lovely. So it's on the Discord.
Stuff coming from that soon.
So the interview's transcribed, so it'll probably be up on Monday, I would think. It was going to go up this week, but obviously a million things happened with like Andy's Nintendo previews went up, and then the Nintendo Direct and everything and stuff like that. You don't want to kind of get swamped with all the other stuff around it. So probably Monday for the Suda interview.
Anyway, enough of your waffle. I took Suda to the football. Ask me
back
that later. Yeah, like so it kind of ended like so when Wonder ended. I've kind of left wanting more. Right, there's an amazing like super tough last level. So an expansion for Switch 2, like, I mean, we were on stream together, well, not on stream, but on call together. So you saw, like, I was super excited when they announced that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's what I wanted from it, this expansion. It's just like, I mean, it's obviously the way that they've sold it so far is that it's very multiplayer focused. And also the challenges like we play, there's like something like, I don't know, over a dozen or so challenges. And they're like 2-minute long, like races or, things like that, right? And it's like, yeah, this is okay in a event environment where you're playing it with other games journalists and you're in person, but it's like, am I going to touch this? So I'm not really sure like how much solo content is actually there. I don't like multiplayer in 2D Mario. I never have ever since they introduced it in New Super Mario Brothers Wii. When they said, 4 of you can play it at the same time.
Nightmare.
I was like, all right. And then we tried it. I'm like, I hate this.
Well, the best thing they did was turn the collision off, which they've done in this game. Because it was absolutely like infuriating in those games because you just jump on each other and bump into each other. And
but even then, it's a single player game by its core design. It's like, I would love in the future to see a 3D Mario game add like a split screen feature where you can both kind of freely, because just now when they do 3D co-op in 3D games, it's usually one player is Mario and the other player is like a helper, like Luma or Bowser Jr. in Bowser's Fury, and it's like, that's not as good because you both want to be doing this, like, be as equal partners. So I'd love to see a split screen 3D Mario game at some point where Mario and Luigi can go their own way and do whatever they want in the world. That would be cool. But side-scrolling just never works for me. So adding multiplayer stuff.
So I'm waiting to see what the single-player stuff is like for that. So the jury's out on that one for me. And Virtual Boy, I thought was brilliant. I think there's like the level of detail they've gone to recreating that is kind of astounding for Nintendo's biggest flop. I own an original one, and it's like it felt exactly the same. And I'd actually say that probably it's a little bit better, like in terms of the experience. You can adjust I can't remember what it's called, the pupil positioning, like within the software. Obviously the screen's bigger and close to your face. The sound's like a bit beefier. I think for people who missed Virtual Boy the first time around, there's going to be a real cool little discovery there. It's like a weird time capsule, there's this alternative universe Nintendo 90s console, pre 3D console with games on it and original music, and it's
going to send Scullion round the twist. As soon as people start saying that, oh no, the Virtual Boy was cool, actually, Chris Scallion's going to jump out a window.
I was just about to say that. I'm waiting for the articles going, actually,
I'll
did
put
you know
one up
the
this
Virtual
week.
Boy is actually really...
Yeah,
I know, yours comes from a position of knowledge that you already know.
I'm allowed to say that.
There's lots of people, but there's lots of people who just accepted the narrative from the 90s that this thing gives you headaches, this thing's bad, this thing was a flop because it was terrible, and it wasn't actually terrible. It was an awkward thing, and people didn't really know where to position it because it wasn't a handheld, because you have to put it on a table. It's not virtual reality because you're not looking around. It's just like a 3D gimmick. So people didn't know what it was, so people didn't buy it. You're going to get a lot of people discovering it for the first time, going, actually, the games on this are actually really good.
It's quite a cool little gimmick. There's nothing quite like it still now. This weird little 3D headset that you don't wear and you put on a table, and it's cool.
Virtual Boy Wario Land's brilliant. Like, that's going to be the one that a lot of people... And the fact we're getting like a new F-Zero...
Do you think it's so funny, because I was thinking at the time, I would genuinely play modern games with this, like in 3D. It's so comfortable to use. Like, you just have it on a desk, right, and you just rest your head on it. And I think the history has shown that prolonged use perhaps brings its own problems, but as a cool little gimmicky thing, like, I would use it on modern games. Like, how I was thinking that how Labo, they added modes to Super Smash Brothers and Captain Toad and Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Like, I would use it, and then it came out after the embargo that you can actually use Labo for these games, which kind of suggests that you can use the Virtual Boy for the Labo stuff.
Yeah. So here's a thought: Switch Online, Nintendo Classics, 3DS.
Yeah,
and use that to play games in 3D.
The dual screen would kind of hump you, though, wouldn't that?
The dual screen would hump you, but some games never really use the dual screen that well, or you can have the dual screen as a wee inset in the bottom corner. Like stuff like Mario 3D Land,
it's always
use the bottom screen.
It's always interesting to see how those who engage on the N-Gage with dual screen consoles, how they handle it. Typically, it's...
I've been saying this. I was surprised that Switch... Well, I was not surprised, but I had a little bit of a bet, didn't I, that the Switch 2 might have a second screen. So I think I missed dual screen gaming, and I think Nintendo does as well. If you think about it, they've been making games for dual screen gaming for like best part of 20 years, up to, or okay, that's an exaggeration, maybe like 10, 15 years up to Switch, or certainly the end of 3DS. So I would like to see that. Anyway, Suda, I took him to the football.
Yeah.
Do you know how excruciating it was to sit in the home end at Stamford Bridge at Chelsea, and we went 2-0 up, and we should have gone about 4-0 up. I squeezed Suda's leg so hard that he probably I'd broken some Japanese social law about hierarchy, and he just gave me a polite yeah. I had to explain to him via the translator, James, who the what the West Ham fans were singing, which not all of it always translated. Some of it was about sex offenders.
Naturally, was he asking who Danny Dyer is? was he going to get him in the next game?
Despite popular belief, the West Ham fans don't sing about Danny Dyer in the away end.
Did they not sing that Jared Bowen song? No. Bowen's on fire.
Yeah, I don't think he scored. Yeah. Plus, I don't. Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. I found out that the word for like karage chicken, I probably pronounced it wrong.
The best.
Someone with better Japanese than me on listening to this will be able to put it in the comments or something. It's like the word for karage chicken, like haircut is like karagi or something like that. And one of the guys I was with ordered thought he ordered karage, and he leaned over when you just ordered a haircut.
Haircut chicken, please, boss man. A lot of sauce, lot of sauce and salad. More from Suda on the site soon, as we just said, with Chris, before we get started, if you'd like more podcasts, videos, and ad-free browsing, you can check out patreon.com/video games chronicle. It is genuinely a massive help when it comes to supporting VGC. If you're a fan of games media or even slightly tuned in, you may have noticed how bad the time it is recently in games media. And while we joke and laugh about Patreon, because it feels like a very anti-British thing to like sell yourself in the same way Americans do. We are sincerely appreciative of everyone that supports, and it's not just keeping the lights on, it's like changing the future of this website. So anyone who has signed up for things like our off-topic podcast, if you enjoy this podcast but you've not really engaged with the other stuff, there's like an extra 30-minute podcast every Tuesday where me and Chris Scullion shoot about God knows what. There's also Chris's newsletter every Friday, which is a big hit with the VGC massive. Chris, it has been a genuine game changer, and people should know that we are being serious and we're not being our jokey self when we talk about this stuff.
Yeah, it's like we've said this before. It's like the VGC, the main site is obviously our bread and butter. That's what we're known for. We'd like to think of it without, again, being British, we don't like kind of bigging ourselves up. I'd like to think we're kind of industry leaders now in news coverage, like in on the main site. But then the Patreon side of things is where we get to kind of let our hair down a bit and be like the people behind the site, where people get to like have more of a laugh. So it's interesting that we're kind of straddling the website and magazine kind of days now. So VGC is very much the like I say, our bread and butter, what we do, our news coverage, our kind of really good news coverage. And then Patreon feels like more like the magazine days where there's in jokes and daft taking the piss out of each other and all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice to it's a really nice balance to
Unfortunately,
have.
the back page was taken on podcast.
Who? Never heard of them.
It was. But more importantly, as you say, it keeps us in a relative state of comfort. When like other sites are struggling, we would very much be really stuffed if it wasn't for the Patreon just now. It really is keeping.
I don't think that's an exaggeration either. I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah. So we hugely appreciate anyone who jumps on the Patreon. And like you say, there's hundreds of hours of content there now. If people haven't signed up, to
and not just that. I don't think people
are
like necessarily that's the incentive. Is there's a great community there of people. And it's nice to have that kind of like tangible feedback, right? It is like going back to magazine days for those of us old enough to remember, right? It really is that, we have an audience of, super engaged readers who tell us what they think and we listen.
And yeah, it's also just nice to have like a friendly Discord, like a friendly part of the internet that isn't full of people fighting each other. There's very rarely an argument. Everyone's really welcome. Like even like the last week or two, we've had new people come in and everyone's really welcoming to them. It's not like a clique where you come in and everyone's like, oh, this guy knows this guy and this person knows this person and I'm not involved. Like everyone's really welcoming to everyone who comes in and interacts. It's like it's brilliant. It's just nice to have a nice wee bit of the internet. And if everyone's nice to each other.
And if you would like to meet some of those nice people on the internet, then story number one, tickets are now on sale for VGC Live in Glasgow. You may remember in December, we did VGC's Christmas Patreon drive. And boy, howdy, did we underestimate how much support we were going to get for that. Our totalometer exploded about 14 times. So many graphics got put in the bin. But as a result of that, we are holding our first live event in Glasgow this year on Friday, the 16th of October at Oran Moor in Glasgow. You can get tickets now on the Oran Moor website, or you can go to VGC. We'll have a ticket link on the homepage. I can't wait for this. This is going to be a big step for us in terms of what to expect. Expect a live edition of this very show, as well as we've got prizes to give away. We've got special guests, maybe some friends of the VGC universe will pop up. In general merriment, we're going to try and really make a wee weekend of this for folk. People are flying in. People are flying from the United States of America and the United States of Canada to come over to Glasgow. So we can't wait to see you all. Chris, you said just before the mic started rolling that you can take like 20 or 30 in your house as an overnight. So
yeah, Absolutely. I mean, I don't have a spare bedroom, but I have a single couch, and I'm sure you can fit upwards of 20 people on that one couch. So, yeah.
You heard it here first. The official after party is round Scullion.
It's on my couch. That's very much it. But no, I'm excited. I'm very excited for it. Oranmore's a fantastic venue. I nearly got married in Oranmore.
Then should
I didn't for reasons I won't go into, because I don't want to besmirch the management.
There we
go. I'm sure, to be fair, this was like 15 years ago. I'm sure it's different people in charge.
Share the anecdote then if it's different people.
Basically, it was very nickel and dime. Like there was like a balcony bit, and there was a door up to the balcony, and they said this door's locked unless you pay us an extra £100, and then we'll unlock.
Microtransactions in the venue,
pretty much wedding microtransactions. So, but it's a fantastic venue. It's an amazing looking place. So I'm really excited.
We're not in the wedding venue because we're not getting married. I'm
married to the craft, Jordan.
Yeah, we're married to the game.
Famously.
We are in the underground venue, home of previous shows from the Football Ramble. You may have heard of them. And Lenny's played there a couple of times. Lauren Mabry from Churches. Loads of people have played Oranmore. It's a genuinely.
The Beatles played there once.
They played Oranmore.
They did it, but
you want to open this door? It's an extra £100, Paul.
I remember when I played Oranmore.
They charge you per how many stalls in the toilets they'll unlock.
We only need one.
Oh, sorry, you want this toilet to flush? Yeah, that's
come on,
£20.
But yes, Glasgow is the best city on earth. It has the best food, the best nightlife, and it has a lot of game stuff either in the city or just outside. So we'll be organising events around it. Moshi the dog, currently unconfirmed, very busy schedule. I'm going to try and speak to their agent and see if we can get them there, but we'll see. Andy, your first time in Glasgow, are you going to grace us with your presence, or are you still unconfirmed
I'm
for
still
being on the show?
thinking about it. I might make it. I might do as the venue does and see if we hit a particular stretch goal. Sorry, she's actually just had the worst moment of her life when she saw an Uber Eats driver on a motorbike and a man walking another dog at the same time.
The dream team, the perfect storm.
That was a perfect storm of our house is going to get burnt down by intruders.
I mentioned on the Slack yesterday that there were multiple ambulances, ambuli, if you will, in my street, and when they lower the little back gate, it goes beep beep beep. The dogs were going mental. It was like Royal Rumble in here, smashing against doors and against the wall. I was like, what do you think could possibly be happening? Like,
also famously, dogs can smell death.
Yeah, they're like they've had it.
Or is that cats? Maybe that's cats.
They are away. Just take them straight to the morgue. Don't worry about it.
Maybe that's cats.
But yes, get your tickets. I'm watching the I Got My Ticket channel and VGC's Discord, and it's flying. Lots of people are going to be there, and we're going to be there. And I'm going to confirm this now because it's been confirmed on my phone. Special guest, although for some reason he's bought his ticket, even though he's a bloody producer for this show.
Phil Spencer
will be there. Phil Spencer Pete Donaldson Doss will be there. You can say hello to him since he's from a much more famous podcast. But yes, get your tickets. And we will.
We just came on stage and started talking about football.
We will see you all there. Right, let's get into the actual muck. No more selling stuff. We appreciate you all. Nintendo Switch 2 sales remain well ahead of Switch 1 despite a softer first Christmas in some markets. Nintendo Switch 2's phenomenal sales pace continued during most recent reporting period, with the console now standing at 17.37 million units sold in its first 7 months on sale, most of them to the three of us. That means Switch 2, which launched with plentiful stock, has sold in nearly 10 million units, more than the original Switch managed during the same time frame, launch aligned, and 7 million more than the PS5 and PS4, making it comfortably the fastest selling console launch, though Switch 1 launched earlier in the year and PlayStation consoles later. During the most recent earnings period, covering the 3 months from December 31st, 2025, Switch 2 sold in around 7.01 million units. That's actually slightly less than Switch 1 managed during its first holiday sales period, 7.2 million, due to softer sales in some Western markets. We'll stop there. Andy, when these numbers came out, surprised you, kind of what you were expecting? What are some of the factors that led to these sales?
I wasn't surprised, to be honest. Obviously, it's had a big start. There was a little bit of a question mark around. We had the Circana data for November, which was the worst November in the US for games since the mid-90s. So obviously a lot of reasons for that. The biggest among them being that it's the highest average price, I think, ever for games hardware during a November period. I think it's like $440, something like that. I mean, even if you take the Switch off, that probably means the average price of a PS4 is going to be close. The PS5, sorry, is going to be close to like $500, right? $400, sorry. So I knew it was going to do well. It's just about how much effect that dip would have. I think Chris String's reporting on the game business a little bit vindicated here. I know he got a lot of abuse from a lot of the fanboy.
He always
kids.
Does. I don't understand it.
But they don't really understand that he's a journalist, and and also they don't really understand the difference between like a consumer journalist like us and a business journalist like him. Like, he doesn't really care what your feelings are. He's just telling you what the numbers are, what the facts are.
Yeah.
And these kind of like prove his reporting right, that actually it dipped. It actually had a little dip outside of Japan in some markets. We'll get to it later, but it was actually outsold by PS5 over Christmas period, which is interesting. I mean, I think there's a million reasons you go into this, right? Kind of like I think when it comes to console launches, it doesn't kind of matter so much anymore when you launch, like what seasonality. It used to be super important back in the day. Like you couldn't ever launch a console in March, like they did with Switch, right? No, people were buying it for little Johnny for Christmas. Whereas now it's sort of like, if you kind of look at all the graphs and stuff that I spit out on these, you can kind of see where it's like it evens out, like the extra kind of like units they've sold in June. If you kind of put those into Christmas where they traditionally would be, I mean, it's had a tremendous. It's a record-setting year, Switch 2, right? You have to, as much as we want to report the facts, you also don't want to come across that you're being down on what is an absolutely phenomenal debut for a console. It's comfortably ahead of Switch, the original Switch. The interesting thing is going to be, was always going to be where it goes beyond here, because I think Switch was constrained by stock. I mean, the thing they've done really, really well with Switch 2 is that you can, other than Japan, you can go and buy one, right? You've always been able to go and walk in the shop and buy one. So that's a big advantage when it comes to comparing like for like on these hardware sales. But also Switch obviously really took off after those couple of years. I mean, you've got like, you're going into its second year soon on this comparison, and they would have had like Smash. And I think they had Sword and Shield. Was that year 2?
I believe that was year 2, yeah.
And then you're going real into pandemic, like, and when it's doing stupid number, like 20 million plus a year. So, it would be some achievement if Switch 2, came even close to tracking to what the original Switch does, because that was a complete freak of a console. But certainly, I'd say if you were going to be picky about this, right? And to be clear, this is picky, because it's a console that's going to do 20 million in its first year, like completely unprecedented. You would say, does this kind of highlight a lack of, and I think it does, by the way, a lack of kind of appeal for this console to like a real like mainstream beyond the most core gamers, like the hardcore gamers, because they're always going to turn up and buy this thing. But Christmas, you kind of would expect, like when other people who are not necessarily as interested are looking for gifts, that they might go and get one. But it's like the price point, again, coming back to that, it feels like all the consoles have really just left this market behind, like
just on that there, just before you move on from that, recently I was talking to some pals that played Overcooked on the PlayStation at a party, and they wanted to get a game to play, get a system to play Overcooked to like themselves, and I was like, oh well, Switch 2 is just it. They just bought an original Switch, because the original Switch is like almost so cheap that you don't even think about it kind of money, whereas the Switch 2 is like the Switch 2 is expensive, and it's parity with like buying a PS5 or something like that. So I think that gives people a different kind of viewpoint on it.
I think also the fact that Switch had a slightly better first Christmas than Switch 2 did is.
But again, it comes back to the point I was going to make, is that it highlights not just the price, but there's no software there that kind of breaks through. Donkey Kong is not that game. Kirby is not that game. Metroid is definitely not that game. Pokemon is on a console that has 150 million install base.
I was going to say the big game they had was Pokemon, but I can imagine a lot of Switch 1 users would have just bought that anyway.
Yeah.
Compare that to the Switch, and its first Christmas it had Mario Odyssey, which was getting obscene review scores across the board. And I know 3D Mario doesn't usually sell as well as 2D Mario, but when you've got a game getting ratings that high, people are going to buy a Switch to play the big 3D Mario game. So it had a big game. I think it came out in late October. So that had a big Christmas game that was exclusive to the Switch.
Do you think,
Switch 2.
Chris, do you think there's some inertia where, especially that first year of the Switch, it was coming off a dark period for Nintendo where the Wii U was so low and a lot of Nintendo fans were very down on the whole situation. The Switch was, we've got a great console again. Here's an amazing Zelda, although I don't think it's that good. Here's an amazing Mario, and that potentially boosts it up. Whereas now they're like, we've just had an amazing generation. I'll move on to my Switch 2 quite happily, and I'll pick up bits and pieces. But
I think you'll find, Jordan, to borrow a video game analogy, it's the equivalent of Wii U to Switch was like in Pilot Wings when you're gliding and you hit one of the air currents and you go like up in the air. Whereas Switch to Switch 2 is where you just pull back in the analog stick and it just goes up a wee bit. Because it was still riding high, and then the Switch 2 is like a nice wee boost up.
I just think it's going to be a tougher second and third year in terms of comparing like for like, which is what we're doing here. I mean, obviously, it's clearly put yourself onto the road to success, regardless. It's going to be a difficult second. They need the big games that are going to cut through and shift systems this year and next year. They really do.
They certainly have one this year,
especially because like I'd say when we come to PS5, I'll touch on this more. Is that my concern is, and it would probably affect Nintendo the most, is that console gaming's now like a rich man hobby. It's a middle class. If you've got money, that's what you do. Like if you want value now, consoles used to be where you went for value, and they absolutely aren't anymore. PC gaming is where you go for value. You used to buy the box because then you get good stuff, right? Like the new games are coming out and they're 70 quid, right? 80 quid in some instances. And they're even, you're seeing how they I mean, I've listened to a lot of financial results this week, so maybe it's why it's strong in my head, but you even hear these executives explaining, going, well, players on console expect to pay, so we'll charge them, whereas PC players, they don't, so we won't.
Yeah, but I would just challenge that slightly. And PC gaming's like an uber rich man's hobby at the moment, though, because to get into PC gaming,
absolutely. Like getting into let's forget about any of the microeconomic stuff now. Like if you're buying a PC now, then yes. But what I mean is, when you're on the system, once you've invested, you're getting games for like a couple of quid, right? I mean, how many first party Switch games you getting for a $5? None. Like zilch, right?
Snapper clips.
I mean, Sony will put stuff on its sub, but that's like, I'm paying. My sub for PS Plus is like well over 100 quid a year.
Yeah.
The value is just not, it has become that it's kind of flipped almost, that this is now the premium.
Yeah, I will maintain that I think both if I wasn't in this job, I would maintain both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, because the amount of stuff on both of them is insane. But I think if you're someone, obviously we're in a gilded cage where we get stuff for free and stuff like that, but I do agree that the sheer money that comes out of my bank account for subscriptions across all kind of media at the moment is really making me question, like, do I need Amazon and Netflix and Apple Music and all this kind of stuff? It's intense to see Monzo on the first of the month just go din 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 din. Where's all my money gone?
But I worry, to the point about year 2 being a big one. I worry about what games are coming. Because I hope this is unfounded, but when I see a Switch 2 edition of something being released, in my head that's saying
push it off.
The next one is a long way away. So when I see Animal Crossing getting a Switch 2 edition and a big update, that tells me there's no Animal Crossing this year or maybe even next year. When I see Mario Wonder getting a Switch 2 edition, that makes me think there's no Mario Wonder 2 coming anytime soon, and that's designed to keep people happy with it for now. Same with Mario Party. I think it's telling that we've not had a Smash Brothers Switch 2 edition.
And I don't think they're working on a Smash Brothers either. I don't.
You know, think that's what Kirby
again, any Nintendo stuff that you hear is like obviously like big pinch of salt, but you know that's I don't. From what I've been here, I don't think it's being worked on. Not yet.
But we might get a Switch 2 edition at some point with like another 2 characters.
But it's a real problem for Nintendo, right? It's a real problem. I know this sounds like for any Nintendo fan, it sounds like going back in time, but just the resources required to make these games. Like, look at how many games do Microsoft and PlayStation and Sony put out a year, and how much they spend on acquiring studios, right? Like Sony next year. I mean, it's a different. It's not like for like, right? Because you can say PlayStation this year have got Wolverine and they got Saros, a Marathon, right? If you want to include that, but they don't need more than that because all their money's going to be made on Fortnite, Call of Duty, GTA, NBA, etc., etc. It is the platform of third-party games. They don't have the same pressure that Nintendo does to put these games out, but it's still a fair point. Is the resources required now to put these games out? They haven't got a Wii U to port with amazing games on it, by the way, to port over anymore. You know, the Switch 2 editions are going to get them through probably a year. I think consumers are already getting a bit pissed off and bored of those. So they're I mean, I hear behind the scenes as well. Like if you're a half competent studio who pitch them, they're looking for partners, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a new thing. You look at how many games they've worked on even from the last 10 years with partners. Like they've always been open for most of the last decade to giving IP to outsiders who will then work on games for them. But I think it's more the case than ever now. I mean, they're looking to double the size of their development building footprint in Japan. It's I'd be very interested to see what they actually have this year.
So the tentpole this year is very likely Pokemon.
Yes.
And that will be a Switch 2 exclusive Pokemon, and that will shift the needle. But outside of that, I do agree. Very quickly, Chris, there was a Nintendo Partner Direct that we watched. Highlights for you, I would say the mainstream highlight would be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in June. How that game's going to run on a Switch 2 is literally anyone's guess. But outside of that...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Final Fantasy, the director's been saying before, don't worry about it. So we'll see.
I've played the first game and I'm worried about it.
I know, but he said that because they ported it on PC and put in graphic scaling and stuff, then they've kind of got that down. So we'll see. Obviously, I'm heavily biased in that all the retro stuff was the stuff that pumped my nads, as the kids say. Do they say that anymore? I think they said that in the Breakfast Club.
I'd hope not.
The Bomberman collection, I'm going to get on as soon as I've finished the reviews I'm working on. Arcade Archives, which I've always kind of flown the flag for, is now releasing console archives, which is they're basically digging deep into kind of older games that are maybe less well known. But although I said less well known, the launching with Cool Borders and Ninja Gaiden 2, which is like a really strange first two games to go with, like a PS1 game and an NES game. Like, fair enough. But they've got like the Doraemon game on NES is coming, and there's like a Monster Rancher weird kind of puzzle PS1 game coming. So it looks like they're going to have some kind of deep dive. So I'm interested about that. Rave Racer's coming. Yeah, in terms of all the old shit, I'm happy. But there was it was a wide range of stuff that I don't think it was scattergun enough that I don't think anyone would have looked at it and went, all those games are for me. But I think everyone would have found one or two things there that would have been up their alley.
It seemed like a lot of marketing obligations, but
that's what these directs are. I don't think it's good timing for that, though, is it? I mean, I think you are starting to get this changing of the narrative around Switch 2. Like, where are the games, right? I think people are getting a little bit annoyed of the Switch 2 editions. It'd just be nice to have some stuff to look forward to, you know. And you've had this feeling that there's been loads of third-party games in the background, you know, that are not, you know, that are just waiting to be announced, right? Where's the Xbox stuff? You know, where's Monster Hunter Wilds and big games like that, right? Where's the other like big titles? And I kind of think it's a bit counterproductive that partner directs, because it just kind of cemented that feeling of like, are these games coming or?
I think post the 27th of February we might have a clearer idea, and then maybe they'll start talking about what their own lineup looks like. But yeah, I thought I'm excited to see some of the Bethesda stuff running. I know people weren't enamored with that Skyrim port, but I'm looking for. I'll check out Fallout 4 certainly. I want to see how Indiana Jones looks, because that game looks incredible on Xbox. And also, if you've not played Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, play that game. I don't know why people weren't. I know it's because of when it came out, but I don't know why people weren't screaming
criminally
about that game.
Criminally
amazing game.
I was actually a little bit
a
little bit disappointed for it that it didn't pick up more awards nominations.
Yeah,
I mean, I know why, right? You release your game, arse end of December. That's what's going to happen. But
yeah, that game is fantastic, and I think about replaying it so much, because it's not just like it pretends to be a linear action game, then these levels open up and they're absolutely ginormous. Like the level in the Vatican is like, you could have made an entire game just Indiana Jones exploring the Vatican and all the different levels. So think about picking that up.
At the end of the day, don't worry about Switch 2. Once Splatoon Raiders comes out and sells 400 million copies, then we'll be fine. And we'll look back at these chats with a wry smile.
Yeah, we'll look back and laugh. Very briefly, this is chopping something out a different story, but Take-Two also had their earnings this week and announced that they're putting a pause on Borderlands 4 on Switch 2, which seems like a bit of a bin of that game. And this game did not run well on PCs or high-powered consoles. Do you think this is a issue of them not being able to get it up to snuff, or it was just too much money than it was worth?
From my brief experience working dev side, I just can't help but feel that it's some weird caveat that we're not seeing, some weird platform thing. Like, how the initial reaction to the dispatch censorship thing was like for everyone to lose their minds, but in all likelihood, we worked out is probably the fact that the SKU's the same, and then there's like regional laws and on censorship, and I can't help but feel that it's something that we're not seeing, perhaps to do with the online connectivity. I've not played Borderlands for ages, so I'm pulling this out of my arse a little bit. For example, like, is it a persistent game? Is there something to do with like being? Could they figure out it being on a handheld, and if you can shut it off at any one time, is it going to corrupt data? Or is that became at some point? Most things that are canned, right, are canned because they have a problem, and the solution to the problem is not worth the cost or money for what they're going to sell, which is probably what's happened here.
Okay, when we come back, we'll be talking Sony's financials and more from Obsidian. Remember, you can get more podcasts, videos, and ad-free browsing at patreon.com/videogameschronicle, and you can get tickets to VGC Live in Glasgow. Head to Autumnmore's website or VGC. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. Next story, PlayStation 5 outsold Switch 2 during stronger than expected holiday sales for Sony. There was a part of me that was like, do I get a confetti gun ready for this for a laugh? But I didn't have time to head down to my confetti gun store. PlayStation 5 enjoyed a stronger than expected sales period, matching PlayStation 4 during the same period, despite a much higher price point, and outselling the Switch 2. In its latest financial results, covering the 3 months to December 31st, 2025, Sony sold in some 8.1 million PlayStation 5 consoles, just 0.1 million less than PlayStation 4 managed during the same period of its life cycle. That means that PlayStation 5 has now sold in around 92.2 million consoles and remains virtually neck and neck with its predecessor, launch aligned, despite the initial stock shortages due to COVID-19 pandemic and the significant price difference. PS4 retailed for less than $300 at this stage of its life, while the PlayStation 5 increased price last year to $550, though Sony did offer some discounts during Black Friday. Before we continue, Andy, your thoughts on these numbers from PlayStation?
I was super impressed by these numbers. I keep like a spreadsheet and stuff with all of these on it so that we can easily track. Like, it just makes it more digestible. Like, I cannot tell. Like, usually the UK time zone is very kind to us for news. I'd say more kind than most. But but when you're having to look through a spreadsheet of financial results at 6 a.m., it's quite difficult without some kind of like homework to refer to. So I was looking, I could see what was coming in terms of, again, comparing like for like to PS4. That PS4's, still had this big holiday season, right? And I just, with all of the vibes around the games industry at the moment, I wasn't convinced. I really thought PS4 was going to pull away because they've been virtually neck and neck their entire, launch aligned life cycle. I think there's like less than 2 million units between them, right? And there always has been, with the caveat of like the price of the PS5 compared to the PS4. You could get a PS4 for like $200 at this stage, whereas the average price of a console in the US in November, like I said earlier, was like $440, which even if you include Switch kind of pulling that up, that's close to $400 surely. Average price people paying for a PS5. And the fact that it was the pandemic really constrained it. The pandemic was a big boost for games. I don't think it was necessarily a boost when you're trying to get consoles on shelves, for people to buy, and they have to physically go and get them. So that's super impressive. But I really did think PS4 was going to pull away this Christmas because of like what we saw with like the worst November in 25 years or whatever it was, 30 years. The price, everything, the micro, economic, everyone, the cost of living, everyone's, groceries are going up. So I think for them to sell more than Switch 2 did, okay, fine, but I don't think that's as they sold just 0.1 million less than PS4 did, for significantly, more money at a time when less people are kind of, I think, going into console gaming. I think that's super impressive and puts them in a position, by the way. I think this thing's got an amazing chance of outselling PS4. GTA coming out this year.
GTA is going to make it fly. That's especially
it's got to sell about 20 million units.
Yeah.
It's now outsold PS3, Wii. It will soon outsell Wii and PlayStation. It's looking like, right? So it's got to sell about 20 million more units, I believe, roughly, or a little bit more. GTA is basically it's going to be the biggest entertainment launch of all time, and it's essentially a PS5 exclusive. It's not. It still blows my mind that this game is not on PC in this market, in this environment. The fact that it's on Xbox One doesn't matter. No one's going out to Xbox. They've basically pulled out of the race, right? There's no one's going to go and buy an Xbox One for this thing unless they're heavily discounting, which they are not. So that game is going to shift consoles, and that is that I find that in everything we've been through, the cost of everything, the pandemic, I think is super, super impressive what they've done here. If you're looking at it from a business head, their profits are not great, like their profit margins, but they're working on that. I mean, games are expensive to make now, right? They're on about in every call, they're working that out. I actually spoke to sales friend Chris String about this. Because I was going, I like to test the water. Like, I think these are really impressive. And he came at it from another possibly more cynical angle where, and this is food for thought, he said, I kind of find it difficult to be impressed by a console that has basically a monopoly. So your competitors pulled out, that's done the same as the last one. But I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair because the console market's never grown. It's never. It's always the same, like 250 million people, right? It's never grown. And you've got to keep in mind as well, like Xbox One didn't sell 80 million.
Yeah, Xbox
it sold
One
about 50, right? And it launched at a time when it launched Wii U, right? Those Nintendo audience, that 150 million Switch U players, they weren't there. That sold like 10 million, didn't it, Wii U? So probably they've gone to Switch, or the most likely they've gone to PC. A portion of those Xbox players would already have a PS5. And also there's the assuming that, all of them are not satisfied with playing their games on Xbox, series consoles as it is. So I think that's possibly a bit harsh. But yeah, overall, I was impressed by these numbers.
I think there's Chris, I think it makes interesting reading, especially in the context of there is definitely a narrative, and I don't think it's entirely unfounded, about PlayStation 5's lack of exclusive titles. Like, if you look at the same period 5 years after launch, so PS5 had Death Stranding 2 on the Beach and Ghost of Yotei. Both games did very well. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, VGC's Game of the Year, you might have heard. The same period for the PlayStation 4 was when they released God of War, Detroit Become Human, Astrobot Rescue Mission, and Spider-Man. So big hitters, but not an overwhelmingly large amount more than they did on PS5. That may have been picked up by some third-party exclusives. What do you make of this, and were you surprised to see this?
I was surprised that it's good numbers like this far into a console's life, obviously. I'm not massively surprised. I'd go with kind of what Dringo was saying, in that the difference between a console selling well and a console selling like ridiculous numbers is in the casual players who buy it just for a couple of games a year. And Xbox is now so far down the public consciousness that when you think Call of Duty, or you think Madden, or you think EAFC, you think PlayStation. So everyone who wants to play Call of Duty with their pals, or now Battlefield with their pals, or Madden or EAFC with their pals, just goes and gets a PS5 by default, because that's what they're all playing.
Yep.
So that's the only thing that makes me wonder. I know we say it's going to GTA is going to shift consoles. I don't know how many consoles it's going to shift, because if it's already shifted 92 million, I would imagine a huge number of people buying GTA will already have one. GTA is appearing so late in this.
But I think that is the audience you're talking about, though. These are people that only play GTA. There is a big portion of people that
that's what I'm saying. Sort of be
they're PC players, right? Who play GTA, who will have to go and buy a PS5 if they want to play that game. I mean, anecdotally, is like anecdotal evidence is like the big pitfall, right? Stupid to use that, but how many people do we know between the three of us who are when's GTA out?
Of course,
I'm going to buy a PS5. When's it out?
Yeah,
I don't doubt it'll shift. It'll shift millions. I'm just curious, like, how many of them in the last 6 years have decided to buy early.
I mean, they don't, but they don't. Sony to keep this going and be there, to outsell PS4. PS5 doesn't need to like necessarily, go up massively. It just needs to carry on. I mean, at this point in the life cycle, PS4. PS4 started really dropping off at this point naturally. We are at the end of the life cycle, traditional life cycle.
It will 100% outsell PS4, because PS4 didn't have a GTA at this point in its life. It didn't have a big game.
PS4
like that.
didn't have a GTA. There's not been a GTA for 2 generations.
Yeah, it didn't have a new one. Yeah, so I've got zero doubts whatsoever that PS5, if it's neck and neck just now, PS5 will overtake it with connects to GTA.
I think when you walk into a shop later this year, all of the PlayStation 5 boxes will be covered in the pink GTA 6 stuff. Like they will position it as the GTA machine. I also think it'd be a good idea for them to get like having a meeting and be like, what is the absolute cheapest we can sell this PS5 with GTA, and make that a really important SKU. The other end of this is, because it's not on PC, they have the easiest marketing beat in the world for the Pro, being like, this is the best place to play GTA 5.
Like Pro.
What?
Pro.
People like the Pro. I know you absolutely hate it because it's put Xbox further in the mud, but people like the Pro.
No, but the people who only buy a console for GTA aren't going to spend fucking £700 on a Pro.
No, I'm not saying those
people. I kind of think they are, but I think the old dynamics have changed. They're like, as we've just gone through numbers about how the average console price is $450. It's not a value proposition anymore. It is. I actually think that, the talk has obviously been about, what are they going to charge $100 for GTA 6? Are they going to release it only digitally? If any game could do that, it's this. Because people are going to buy it, no matter, because they're going to buy it. It's going to be the only thing they play for the next 10 years. I mean, GTA 5 sold 250 million units. I can't even get my head around that. I don't think they're putting prices down at all for this thing, because they don't have to.
And also,
I don't think they put prices down. I just don't think. I think when you say to somebody, "Oh, you can buy a PS5," PS5 Pro for £700.
No, but I think it's a marketing point, because you look at those trailers, like how the fidelity of that game, how incredible. Like, at best, it's only going to look like that on PS5 Pro, right? It just is. It's you've only got. God knows how that's going to look on a base either of the consoles, but certainly base PS5. So I think it's a real marketing point. If it was me, I mean, this is what it is. This is what consoles have become, is upselling people to premium shit. Look at this fancy 200 quid controller. Look at this 200 quid headset. You want to play your games off screen. It's all about upselling. That's how they're making their money now. Upselling to these same consumers. If it was me, I'd be buying the Pro. Do you want to play this thing in 4K? Best for it looks like this. I think it's a great selling point.
If the Pro's the only way that game runs at 60 frames a second, there are thousands of people that will upgrade for it.
The people who haven't bought a PS5 yet because they're waiting for GTA don't know what 60
It's not
frames
those
a second
people I'm
is.
talking about, though. It's the people I was talking about there was when I was saying they should do the cheapest possible version with the game to get them. The people that are already enthusiasts and already have a PS5, maybe just have a base one and are like curious about the Pro. There is definitely an audience that if you say, okay, GTA 6 on the base console runs at X 30-ish, looks fine to like 90% of people, but it's an enthusiast kind of hobby. There will be people that want it, like, no doubt.
I just wonder how enthusiast you have to be. I mean, we cards on tail. We know I'm a sucker for like the new tech, and I'll always buy the new tech that comes out. I've never even considered entertaining 700 quid for a Pro. So I just don't know how much.
But I think you would buy an Xbox Pro, though. I think you would.
I would not for 700 quid
in your ecosystem. I find that very hard to believe. Like,
I couldn't justify that. I couldn't justify 700 quid.
If it's
a new console, if the new Xbox, no, I wouldn't have bought that. I enjoy it because I got one, but I wouldn't have paid that much money for that. If the new Xbox is 700 quid at launch, that's different. And the new PlayStation 700 quid at launch, that's different because that's a launch console and that's a completely new experience. As an upgrade, 700 quid, I can't justify.
But I think for people that maybe bought their PS5 in 2020 or 2021, like in tech, 700 quid isn't
just wait
a lot,
for PS6.
Well, yeah,
it's not. It's all proposition, isn't it? I mean, this is why I come back to what I was saying there when I was saying so many people on the financial calls are talking about like, oh well, console players expect to pay for their experience, and PC players. It's so difficult to change that mindset because just right there, that comparison just flips everything, doesn't it? Like my iPhone is more than $1,000, and you wouldn't think twice about it. That's how much a phone costs. But to us, like a 700 quid console is obscene. But if you paid 700 quid for a PC, that would be a massive bargain. You paid a 700 quid for a PC that could run GTA at that fidelity, it would be the best value deal you've had in your life. I wouldn't get a 700 quid PC that could run any game, top game at that fidelity for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
so I guess you do need to put it into perspective.
I don't think it will be I don't think they will lead front-footed with the PS5 Pro stuff, but I absolutely think that will be a key selling point, especially when it comes to showing it off, because they've obviously been very controlled about how.
Certainly, the whole marketing is going to be that, right? Everything is going to say this is running on PS5 Pro, because why would they show it running on anything else?
Yeah, interesting times ahead for PlayStation and GTA 6. We kind of touched on that there, but in the Take-Two call, there was a question about a report saying there'd be no physical version of the game on release day, and Zelnick said that's not the plan. Chris, I kind of believed this mainly because I think they are very burned on leaks naturally, because they got absolutely done, and you know what it's like. Every game we review, every game we've signed our life away on an NDA, Reset Era, like literally, not that we have it or whatever, but literally there's copies of Resident Evil 9 out already. For that to happen to GTA and the whole game's on YouTube, that's a nightmare scenario, and people will be stealing that game from factories and stuff like that as soon as it's been ready to be packed.
Yeah, we reported on it because the source has been right a few times. Like, with a bunch of apparently the source is an insider in the in European game, physical game distribution somehow. And they were saying that, to be fair, they weren't saying that it wasn't going to be a physical copy. They just said there had been no plans announced yet, and usually by this point they expect to be told what the plans are. And they were under the impression that maybe the physical version might be held back to prevent leaks. That doesn't, and to be clear, because Zelnick said that's not the plan, that still doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Yeah. It might still yet happen. But at the same time, it could just be as likely that they'll basically make it an online only start. And they'll just basically, you can have your physical copy all you want, but it's a coaster until they turn the servers on, and you can install the game all you like, but until the day of release, and Rockstar turn the servers on, and you have to connect to the Rockstar hub or whatever to start your game. Then your physical copy that you nicked from the back of Argos isn't going to work until they decide. So I think they're going to end up doing that.
I think there's virtually no doubt about that, and they can make it such a small key that no one can be like, oh, I don't have it, and you can tether to your phone. Like, it'll be like a megabyte or something like that, but it'll be the yes or no kind of.
The only other argument is that I don't know if they're going to do it this time, but GTA traditionally came with a map.
Oh,
and they might not want people leaking the map before the game comes out, because that might reveal like all this kind of stuff. So, but how
the map's already online.
Are they going to be about that? I know that. Well,
yeah, so I agree. I also wondered if they'll do a fancy collector's edition, because those have been nice in the past. But I can also see them doing a fancy collector's edition with no game, which has also become like a very common thing. Recently. Yes, I'm really, really excited for that. I cannot wait to see what that's like. It's going to be an industry shaker. 3 out of 5 VGC. Not enough cafes. Very briefly before we put a bow on this podcast here, an interesting bit of news coming out of Obsidian Towers, saying that they have no plans to make Outer Worlds 3. And that they'll be making more games in the Avowed world, but both series are underperforming financially. Speaking to Bloomberg, Fergus Urquhart, who's the head over there, implied that Grounded 2 was a big hit, but neither Outer Worlds 2 nor Avowed met sales expectations. Chris, this is perhaps not a surprising one. I feel like you were hot on Avowed. I liked Outer Worlds 2, but they came and went very quickly. Like, people weren't chatting about them, especially in terms of like the new big Obsidian RPGs kind of thing. Yeah,
the big story around Outer Worlds 2 was they were wanting to charge $80 for it and then backtracked it. Avowed, I really liked Avowed. I wonder how that's going to go, because that's on PS5
shortly.
Like in days. I wonder if that'll give it the kind of the kick up the backside it needs, because I think it deserves a lot more kind of attention than it got. The thing I found interesting was that they spoke to Josh Sawyer, the studio design director, and last year we and everyone else were praising Obsidian for like, how did this company manage to release Outer Worlds 2 and Grounded 2 and Avowed all in the 1 year? This is like the year of Obsidian. Microsoft were praising Obsidian for doing it. As Josh Sawyer's basically come out and says, that's not a good thing. Yeah. Everyone was like saying, great job, guys, you fired out all these games. Wish more studios could fire out games as quickly as Obsidian did. And Josh Sawyer's basically said that, listen, the reason they all came out at the same time was a massive coincidence. Like, games were delayed, that was meant to be staggered, and they all just ended up. He said our support teams were stretched really thin because they were having to spin 3 plates at the same time. In the quote, he says, quote, spacing those releases helps the company manage its resources and not burn everybody out. It's not good to release 3 games in the same year. It's the result of things going wrong. So we take back all our praise for Obsidian for releasing 3 games in 1 year, and we instead send commiserations for messing it up, apparently.
The wee woman that puts the discs in the boxes, she's absolutely knackered. She's been run absolutely
Obsidian
ragged.
Is devastated.
I'm not that surprised, and I'm not that surprised that there's certainly been chat, and we've talked about this before, that Obsidian will be heading back to franchises that the fans have been asking for a hell of a long time, but we'll have to see how that all pans out. Thanks very much for listening to this week's episode of VGC, the Video Game Podcast. You may have noticed last week's episode was 90 minutes. That is not the standard. Blame Alex Donaldson and his whiskey-laden over-chatting, but it was lovely to have him last week chatting about Resident Evil. Chris Scullion, what are you up to this weekend?
Actually, not booked for once.
A new book. You're starting another one.
Work. I know, I'm doing another book. Two books. No, I'm spinning a few embargoed reviews, so I'm working on those. And very different in tone. One of them is very family friendly. One of them is about as gory as you can get. So I'm having to kind of play different ones when the kid's around and when she's not around to kind of fix that. So my brain's just going to be a mishmash of like different. Will be all over the place. Plus the inevitable cold, which is now coming.
Nice.
So it's going to be a nice wee fever weekend.
Andy, you this weekend, what are you up to?
I feel like I just need to stay around home this weekend. Obviously, is a mad one. Last week I went obviously went into town with Suda to watch the football. I think the week before I met someone else in town, so I just want to stay close. Stay close,
play some
family. Play some games. I'm just playing Picross at the moment. Capcom Picross still. That's my zen. It's my zen. It's my quiet place. It's
nice.
yeah.
Amazing.
The music. I've gone off the music again though. It's gone back round. It needs to be chill. It's not chill enough.
My chill of an evening is when the kid goes to bed, Louise goes to bed, and I've got a couple of hours spare because I go to bed generally later. The Picross goes on the telly, the sound goes mute, and I put a podcast on. That's my
that's a good idea.
Moment.
That's pretty nice. This weekend, tonight, I'm going to see Stray Kids, the Dominate Theatre Experience. They're playing that Stray Kids concert I went to last year in the cinema. So me and the dearly beloved are going to that. That'll be good. I enjoy their music. Their concerts are good, but mainly because the showcase in Paisley has a Coke freestyle machine, meaning I can get a massive grape Fanta, which is the best of gear. They do grape Fanta Zero, which is very hard to get in any kind of form. So a Coke freestyle machine. If we ever got VGC Towers, which would be in Fergusley, the Coke freestyle machine would be the first thing to go in there. I wonder if there's a Monster equivalent. We need to look into that. Perhaps for VGC Live. Remember, VGC Live tickets are on sale now. If you're a podcast listener who doesn't engage with the Discord side of the world, if you don't want to engage with that much, consider popping in and posting your ticket on the I Got My Tickets Today so we can see your lovely faces. More information about that as the year goes on. Obviously, it's in October. It's currently February. We're trying to give you a good run up here. We know that travel and stuff like that is expensive, so we wanted to give you as much time as possible. We also need to write the bloody thing, so we'll give us enough
also,
time to do that.
Speaking of expensive, obviously these things can be a wee bit pricey to run and organise as well. If there are any like companies listening who would like to maybe even sponsor the live show, get in touch, because it'd be nice to kind of get that sorted. It'd be nice to the more kind of sponsorship we can get, the more kind of daft stuff we can do.
Well, and it means that we can if we can make it a success, then we can do it more regularly. Without having to rely on asking Patreons for help. Give us some money.
We could even maybe do it in England. Well, let perish the thought.
We'll do it in Tokyo. We'll do it at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, we'll do it at the Shibuya Hub. I will dress up as
we could
any
do it
character.
In LA.
Get shot. Very good.
I will dress up as any character from your game if you want to sponsor us. So,
what's that? Platinum Games Bayonetta sponsorship?
Oh, don't tempt me. You don't need to ask me twice.
You need a hair for that.
There's not enough latex in the world. But yes, VGC Live tickets on sale now. Go and check them out. Also, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle if you'd like to support us. As we said earlier in the show, it makes a massive difference. More podcast videos and ad-free browsing. If it's Friday, go and check out patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle and get Chris Scullion's newsletter full of japes and jives such as
did you know there was a Mexican version of Super Mario Brothers 2 where Mario wears a sombrero and it was called Doki Doki Hispanic?
Here we go. That's better than I was expecting it to be. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
Say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
VGC Live on sale now, and we'll see you next time.